Hello. We're just waiting for a couple more people to join us. So we'll wait 5 minutes just to ensure that we have everyone here. But in the meantime, um, welcome everyone to our very first 360 Wellness webinar. And in just a few minutes, I'll give you a little bit more information on how this webinar is going to flow and what you guys can expect. So, hello everyone, and welcome to the very first 360 Wellness webinar. We have our panelists here, our early panelists here on the webinar, and we also have 11 attendees, participants. So, welcome and thank you for being here. I'd like to say thank you as well to our panelists and speakers for agreeing to do this very last minute. So my name is Kola Paklabar, and I'm the founder of GVOM. We put this webinar together just to offer some form of support and add value to anyone who might need it, to our communities and to anyone else that we can potentially reach. To start off this webinar, I want to explain the format and how this is going to go. I'm not sure if any of you have done webinars or online webinars in the past. For us, this is our very first time, so we're just winging it. This is going to be really informal. We're going to let the speakers do their thing. They're each going to get 15 minutes of time to coach or to speak or to present something and to just share about what's happening in the midst of all of this global crisis. So with that said, we're going to have the speakers speak. I'm going to come in before each speaker to introduce them just a little bit before they start their sessions. And once that's done, after all the speakers have spoken, we have 8 speakers in the lineup. We're going to have a very quick panel discussion where we ask the speakers who are here to stay. Some of them might have other arrangements that they need to do, which is completely fine. But would love for one question to be asked and answered by the speakers. And at the end of the panel discussion, we're going to be taking questions. So if you have questions throughout the webinar, please take note, or you can go on chat and comment your questions and leave them there. We'll collect them, but we'll have them answered after the panel discussion. So we'll have all of the speakers speak, we'll have the panel discussion, and then we'll have the Q&A section. So yeah, it's really easy, and I hope you guys see the value in this, and I really hope you guys enjoy this really quick event that we threw together and offering today. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our very first speaker, who is actually coming from Melbourne. So Evan and I, we go way back. Like, we've known each other from Manila when he was living there, and now he's back in Melbourne. But let me read a little bit about him. So you guys, to those who don't know him in this call, you guys have a little bit of information on what he does and what he's doing right now, right? So Evan is a mindset transformational coach and the program director of Coach Masters Academy in Australia. So he brings with him more than 10 years of experience in the health and fitness industry into the coaching world. So this spans across 3 different countries: Australia, US, and the Philippines. So his coaching style is really based on transformative coaching framework, which integrates the science of emotional intelligence and positive psychology. So this has allowed him to impact many lives and create sustainable change for high-performing individuals, young professionals, entrepreneurs, coaches, and athletes. So right now, he's currently the program director of Coach Masters Academy in Australia, as I've mentioned, which is a part of a world-leading training institute that offers the highest standard coaching courses, training leaders and professional coaches in ICF accredited transformative coaching. Oof, mouthful. But I'm going to let Evan share a little bit more about what he does. But yeah, take it away, Evan.
There we go. All right, ready to roll. Thank you very much, Kola, for that lovely introduction, and welcome everyone from everywhere in the world. It's a pleasure to be here. And So, as Cole introduced, my name is Evan Spargo. I am a professional certified coach accredited by the International Coaching Federation, which is the governing body of professional coaches in the world. And I am a coach trainer. I train aspiring coaches and leaders to become professional transformative coaches. So, what is coaching? We all have our own kind of definition of it, but what actually is it? So, people think of therapists, mentors, consultants, therapists, and psychologists. The difference between a coach and them is they offer advice. They are the experts in the field, and they are the ones who are kind of guiding them through their own expertise. Whereas coaches are the expert in the process. So, according to the ICF, the International Coaching Federation, the definition of coaching is partnering with clients in a thought provoking and creative process that inspires them to maximize their personal and professional potential. So, in a nutshell, we come across the belief of our clients have all the answers within them and all the resources they need to help them get to where they are, to where they want to be. And we are the experts in the process of the conversation, and we help them unlock whatever that might be that be stopping them. And we help them figure out the way that they perceive the world, the way they perceive themselves and their situation, and how to change that and how to transform that into something that's going to serve them and get them where they want to be. Today, I'm going to be talking about quickly brushing over mindfulness and open communication, especially in this current time. When we think of mindfulness, according to Headspace, the app that we all talk about, that we use, is the quality of being present and fully engaged with whatever we're doing at the moment. So we're free from distraction or judgment, aware of thoughts and feelings without getting caught up in them. So why world of uncertainty right now? These are unprecedented events. And when what comes with uncertainty comes with stress, anxiety, and worry. That's just a natural human response to something that is uncertain, something that we cannot control. And what happens in this, we can easily get into a negative frame of mind. It's easy to start asking questions like, why is this happening to me? Why am I now in this situation? Why am I having to fend myself? Why am I having to survive? We start getting into a fear-based kind of mindset. And in this mindset, it can really just gain momentum. And it's really hard to get out of that. So one of the things that mindfulness does is it helps us bring us back to that present moment. I'm quickly going to talk about what happens in the brain when we're stressed. So when we're in stress and we're in this downward spiral, our brain kind of goes into a fight or flight mode. Okay. And when we're at our best and we're making our best decisions, our prefrontal cortex is the one that makes the best decisions. It's our best self, right? It's when we're flying at the moment and things are just flowing. However, that starts to shut off as soon as our fight or flight response starts to come. And that comes from stress and anxiety, right? And when we get into that frame of mind, our decision making gets clouded. We start being foggy and we start making possibly irrational decisions, and we start acting on impulse and in survival mode. And this can be detrimental at times and have dire consequences. But so why I'm telling you this is because mindfulness allows us to get back into that neutral frame of mind and allows us to start looking at what's possible and what's positive for us. Okay, it gets that prefrontal cortex back firing and releases that stress that we have, right? And in this frame of mind, when we're in this neutral, positive frame of mind, we start thinking about solutions as opposed to what's wrong. When we start thinking about solutions, we start thinking of ways that what we can do now to create our future that is positive, a future that's going to help us out of this situation we're in right now. So, what are some of the ways that we can be mindful? Well, we all know that meditation works, a guided meditation or your own meditation. We have breath work. We have things like just walking, mindfulness walking. We're walking and just being present in what you see and what you feel. We can do just walks in nature, being amongst nature, grounding yourself. Things like creating. The act of creation is so it gets you into that present moment. So things like writing, puzzles, Simple things like building things. It gets you so into that moment because that's all you're focusing on. And a big thing that I use is exercise. Because, for instance, I went for a run this morning and I knew that I had a talk on today. And well, during the process of running, all I was thinking about was my breath. So keeping a controlled breath and the next step and the next step and the next step I had to make. So that's all I was thinking about. I wasn't thinking about my future or what's going to happen here. I wasn't dwelling about the past. It was just about being present in what I was doing. And that made a significant difference afterwards because I had a clear mind and I was able to think clearly right now to create a presentation that hopefully is going to help some of you guys. Now, when we talk about open communication, it's similar. We can use the act of mindfulness with how we can be open with others. So open communication, it's important because we need to be honest and open with each other, especially times during like now when whether you're living with someone or you're constantly on Zoom calls or online meetings and phone calls where you're working with someone. It's important to be open with them and to let them to be free flowing with ideas and to fully express yourself in that conversation. So why do people need that right now? Well, because people are a lot of time by themselves, and when they're unable to express things, that we bottle it in, we suppress emotions, and when we're unable to release that, well, we all know the consequences of that, you know. So being there for someone, creating a space for someone, and allowing them to express themselves openly helps relieve stress. It creates a sounding board for someone so they can start structuring their thinking. They can see what they're saying and start connecting the dots, and it makes them feel heard. It's kind of like a cathartic experience, you know. It's making them feel that, hey, I'm not alone, because one of the worst feelings is being isolated, thinking that you're the only one going through this. And you know, I feel like when we're heard, it starts a healing process, whatever we're going through. So how can you create an open communication and a safe space for others to self-explore, express themselves, or feel heard? Well, there's different ways. And as a coach, we are trained to do these kind of things. And these are some tools or skills that I want to help you today, just quickly. Firstly, it's active listening and presence. So when I talk about presence, I talk about the being with someone in that space, giving them a safe space to talk. So it's undivided attention. It's open body language with them. It is making them feel that they are the only person or the only thing that's important to you right now. Okay. So it's the presence of you've got my undivided attention. It's number one. Number two is the active listening. When I say active listening, it's not just listening to what they're saying and let it going through you. It's actually listening to what the essence of they're saying. What what is this all about? What are they trying to say here? What are they trying to figure out? Right? And then when we start listening for the essence, we need to be mindful of what we're thinking about in our minds, because often when we listen to people, we think about, well, what am I going to do later? Or your mind starts to wander, or you start thinking about, what am I going to say next? Or maybe I want to share a personal story. So when I say active listening, it's listening to the essence and it's allowing them to completely express themselves. And also it's reflecting back what they're feeling. It's like you're creating a sense of them feeling heard. So for instance, you might recap or respond with, I hear you say this, I feel that you're strongly thinking about this, or, I can tell this is important to you. I hear you're frustrated. It's, I want to learn more about that. What is it that's, creating this frustration? So just a simple reframe of what you're hearing and what you're sensing from that other person just allows them to self-explore themselves a little bit more. And it really creates that safe space for talking without judgment, and just that open space that I can say anything right now. And the second thing we can do is giving advice versus allowing for self-expression. So it's open-ended questions. If as a coach, we never give advice. And the reason why we shouldn't be giving advice is because, number one, when we're giving advice, it's from our experiences, it's from our perspective, it's our point of view. It's not exactly what they're thinking right now or how they perceive their situation or they can necessarily relate to. Okay. No one's ever had the same experiences. We all see the world differently. And if we give advice, it kind of doesn't allow that other person to fully use what they have inside of them, fully use the resources that they're capable of. It kind of, it's kind of like, I'm here giving you advice and you're down here, so you should listen, because I think I know that better. Where it should be co-creative. Okay, so open-ended questions, like I was saying before. So it's kind of things like, how can we expand the mind on what they're thinking? How can we explore that the way that they're thinking for them to get to their own solution? So for instance, when you say you want to perform this or you want to do this, what makes that important to you? Or you might say, I hear you want to perform this action. What positive difference will that make into your life? Or just something simple as, when you say you want to be more productive, what do you mean by productive? That helps expand the mind and it allows for less critical thinking and more to open, creative, reflective thinking. And that does wonders for the person that you're talking to because it opens up other parts of the brain. It allows them to see the situation so much differently. And it allows them to find the answers within them because each and every one of us have the solution, have the answers that we need. We just need the space to do it for. And that's why open communication is so important for us to give someone else because it allows them to fully express themselves and to utilize the gifts that we have within us. And the truth within us is we have the answers to do that. We can find our own solutions. So if you want to help someone, and I believe that one of our biggest needs right now as people is to be heard and to not be judged and to be supported in the way that we're thinking and the way that we're feeling. And how to do that is, create that open communication, be active in your listening, reflecting back what you hear without judgment. It's being present with that person. It's sitting there with them and letting them know that you're here for them and that you're willing to listen to them. And it's the use of questions that can help them explore and expand the mind. What makes this important to you? What will this create for you in the future? I'm so curious to know, what is it that's inspiring you right now? What's something that you can do for yourself to build the future that you want? So there's little simple tools that we can use. And remember that mindfulness is a great way for us to ground, get back into that positive frame of mind so we can start creating our own bright future in this situation. We're all worrying about things, we're all stressed, we're all going through the same thing. So how can you firstly help yourself, mindfulness, and how can you help others with open communication? So that's all I've got to talk about today with a few coaching skills. And I hope that's helped some of you with helping deal with, manage your emotions, manage your mindset, and also something that you can help, some tools to help others. If you would like to find out more and learn more from what I'm talking about, you can contact me. You can message me on here, or you can follow me at Evan Spargo. I'm on all platforms, so please don't hesitate to contact me, and I'd love to talk to you more about this. So thanks again for listening and for joining in this webinar. Thanks, Cola, for setting this up, and I hope you guys get something out of it.
Thanks, Evan. That was really wonderful. And yeah, let me just reclaim host again. But yeah, thanks, Evan. That was such a great talk. And I'm sure everyone will have some questions for you, but we'll leave it for later. And yeah, in the meantime, if you guys, anyone here who's attending, please, if you have any questions for Evan, please leave it in the chat, in the group chat, in the comment section, and we'll collect that and we'll send that to we'll leave that for the final part of the session. And if you want to get in touch with Evan, you can follow him at Evan Spargo on Instagram, but we'll also be sharing their contact details through email after this webinar. So thanks, Evan. Thank you again. And up next, we have the wonderful and the beautiful Sharon Kirsten. So before Sharon jumps on and turns on her audio, I just want to say, I want to read out her bio because Sharon is such an amazing person. We got connected a couple of years back through a friend, and today she's just been such a light in the life of the people that she's met and she's meeting. And it's such an honor for her to be here with us and to share some of that light with all of you here. So just a little bit about Sharon. Sharon helps her clients radically reinvent their world with her inside out approach, which is she combines metaphysical principles, energetic tools, and mindset work to enable you to get anything that you want in life and live your destiny. So she used to be a career junkie, and she helped build the most successful e-commerce startup in Europe, ranking number 5 in the Wall Street Journal's $1 billion startup club. Amazing, right? But her life changed in an out-of-body experience in the Himalayas that gave her guidance, that said to her, you created this life and you can create it differently. So without further ado, I'm going to let Sharon share a bit more about herself, what she's doing, how she's coping, and what value she can give to you at this webinar. So let's just do that.
Thank you so much, Kola. I really appreciate you having me on. Can you hear me by any chance?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Do you want to put your video on? You can do that if you want to.
Ah, amazing. Yes.
Yes. Oh, yes. I figured out, everyone. I figured out how to turn on videos for panelists. Go ahead.
Well done, Kola. We love you. Thank you so much for this beautiful introduction. And also thank you to Evan. Wow, that was amazing. Amazing tips. I'm sure everybody can get a lot out of that as well. My intention today with you here is really to invite you into a new perception of life, like a new world view. And I'm going to elaborate a little bit more on that. And I feel especially in times like these, it's important to remember that we have the power within ourselves. Like our power was never outside of ourselves. And if I can offer you that thought and a little bit of that experience now to empower you to step back into, you know, what it really is that you want to create in your life, how you want to use these new circumstances to create, to rise, to amplify yourself, your gifts, and to thrive in this world, because there is tremendous opportunity right now. And that's really what I feel about this whole situation. Ever since everything happened, I felt really, really, really excited because there's opportunity for innovation, for everything to expand in a conscious way on this planet. So usually, you know, what we're told is that this world is dense, it's physical. We need to hustle really hard in order to move things around, to manifest our desires and to bring into our reality what we want. And what I've noticed in the past with building this startup is that I started identifying myself with the job. I became the job, like everything revolved around the job. I didn't do anything else. And my, you know, like whoever we believe we are, that's what we're going to act according to. So we will, as humans and our psychology, we will go to great lengths to defend our identity, whether it's good or bad. That's just how we humans are. We're quite interesting that way. And even if it's, you know, the person that we're with, that we identify with, or the belongings that we have, or the thoughts that we continuously think, or the struggles that we continuously have, like we start identifying ourselves with those things. But the truth is really that what we see now it almost feels as if some greater power outside of ourselves came in and took our, like, definitely parts of our freedom away. There are certain reasons why we can go outside, like we're told we can do certain things and we can't do other things. Many people have lost their jobs, and there are huge changes rumbling through the world right now on a collective vibration. And collectively, that's definitely something that we have manifested from an energetic point of view. But we are still, every moment of the day, manifesting from our personal point of view. And that's really where our power is. The answer is, like Evan already said, that's also the name of my book, the answers are within ourselves, and the power is within. And that's the idea that I want to offer to you. And the truth is, and that's something, I don't know if you've heard of it, maybe you have, maybe you haven't, just stay open to it. Because one of the things that has been really important in my life is I've had this intense thirst for knowing why this life, like, why are we really here? What's the purpose of being here? What are the secrets to this universe, to life, to, like, why is all of this happening, and what's the meaning to all of it, right? And if I really understand why, then how can I use these universal forces to really use them to create the things that make me feel good in my life? And what I found is that there are very specific laws that the universe functions by. And I'm going to introduce 3 of those laws to you. There are many more laws. One law that you all know is the law of gravity, for example. That's something that, you know, we just know it exists. We're not floating around the world. We have taken that for granted because we experience it every single day. But there are laws that are more metaphysical, that are not visible to us, that are still working for us every single day, and that we use every single day, knowingly or not knowingly, but they still work and they're still active. So one of the very basic laws of the universe is that the universe is mental. And what that means is that it's the concept of the one mind. And maybe you've experienced this sometimes when you think of someone and then they call you or they text you. So it seems as if there is some type of a connection between all of us where we think a thought, it kind of goes out into wherever we want to believe it goes, into this ether, and it reaches someone else. And the reason is because we're all one mind, we're all connected. Ultimately, we are all one, and we all come from this one mind, from that one source. And this law also says that whatever manifests into this physical reality has been a thought first. It has been a thought somewhere, and then over time, through action, etc., it manifests into a physical form. The second one is the law of vibration. And the law of vibration says that everything vibrates. Nothing is ever stable, nothing is dense. Even though the computer in front of you seems very dense, your body seems dense, but it really isn't. And quantum physics has proven this. Like, this is not some spiritual thing that some guru in the Himalayas came up with. This is actually quantum physics. That if we go deeper and deeper into the cell, into the atoms, we realize we're actually 0.1% matter and 99.9% energy. That's what we are. We are a vibration. And then the third law is the law of attraction. And many people have heard about this. And the law of attraction really uses the law of vibration. The law of vibration is actually the law that makes the law of attraction work. Because the law of attraction says that alike things are drawn to each other. But why are they drawn to each other? It's because of their vibration. It's a vibrational universe. So everything vibrates, the lamp, the desk, the laptop. Everything is a vibration. You are vibration. What creates your vibration is your thoughts, emotions, your focus, and your perspective. And when we look at that, this is very, very empowering. And I hope you're still following me. I don't see you. I can't ask you if you're following right now. I hope you are. But the vibration that you are, because you are a vibration, you have a very unique and specific vibration. And it is shaped by your thoughts and by your emotions and by how you focus every single day, and your perspective, the perspective you choose. And so that puts you back into the driver's seat, because nothing can be drawn to you based on the law of attraction that you're not a vibrational match for. And now, what is important right now, why am I sharing all of this with you right now during these times? It's because it's important to stay conscious of your vibration. So if you allow yourself to listen to the media all the time, get into fear, get into, a lot of the collective anxiety and fears, and listening to, like, let's say, stories that don't make you feel good, that make you go into fear, that's when you allow that information to shift you into a vibration where you attract more fear, where you attract more doubt, where you attract more anxiety. So from a vibrational standpoint, looking at the universal laws, the vibration that you hold, the thoughts that you think about, and the emotions that you create within that will draw to you more of that. So now is really the time to go within and to master your inner being, your inner self, to master your emotions, master your thoughts, master your mindset, master what you're focusing on. Because what you focus on continuously over a long period of time is magnetized to you. It comes even faster to you. So people usually focus on what is in their world right now. You know, sometimes people tell me, because I also help people, I coach, and I help them basically recreate their lives, right? So oftentimes people come to me and they're like, oh, I'm stuck. Like, I don't know what to do. I just feel stuck in my life. Nothing that I want is actually happening. But the truth of the matter is that nothing can ever be stuck in this world, because you're constantly emitting a vibration. It just means that you're emitting the same vibration over and over again. So you're attracting the same things over and over again. So that's what usually happens. People observe what's currently happening in their reality. So when you look at what's currently happening, it's a feedback loop to you that makes you feel a certain way, and that vibration attracts more of what you're seeing. So what we need to do, and what I teach my clients, is basically, and that's the thought that I want to offer to you, is that you actually create from the inside out. You create by what you choose to focus on, and your imagination is a beautiful tool. And Napoleon Hill said it really, really well. He said, anything that the mind of man can conceive and bring itself to believe, it can achieve. And so whatever we choose to focus on, whatever we choose to believe, whatever we choose to imagine, often, regularly, constantly, that's our focus. And that's the vibration that we can hold. And through that vibration, we attract it to us. So basically, it's really, really important to focus on things that you desire, whether they are currently in your reality or not. It doesn't matter. And sometimes people tell me, well, you know, that feels as if I'm, you know, not being realistic, you know, it's just dreaming up stuff. But the truth is not. Like, I would rather say, don't look at it that way, but rather look at it from a place of, I'm a prophet. I'm a prophet because I'm visioning things that are going to happen in my life. I'm feeling good about these things coming into my life right now because I believe it can happen. And when we look at believe, it's important that we choose something that we can actually believe in right now. Sometimes people are broke and they want to manifest $1 million, and that's too much of a jump. You actually don't believe you can have it yet. So you got to incrementally increase your vibration so that you can get there. So what I would say, I can't see you, but I would love to invite you to just close your eyes for a moment and make this a little bit more tangible, because vibration is very, very real. And we feel it all the time. Basically, a vibration is an emotion. We could say that. So just close your eyes for a moment with me and take a deep breath in. Just come back into your body. Just notice your breath inhaling and your chest rising. And so in that moment, I would like to invite you to think of something that makes you feel anxious, fearful, stressed out. And I want you to notice, where do you feel that in your body? What happens in your body when you think of something that's stressful and fearful? Some people feel it in their belly kind of constricts, they can't breathe, the breathing becomes more shallow. And that's basically, very simply said, that's a vibration. That's your current vibrational set point where you're attracting. So now you don't have to worry at all, because it's not about what you do once in a while that will attract to you, but what you focus on steadily. So if that's your vibrational set point, then sure, I invite you to shift it. Now, open your eyes, take a deep breath, And now I'd like to invite you to think of something that makes you really, really happy, that makes you really grateful. What works really well usually is think of a pet, some cute animal, I don't know, some cat video that you've seen on Instagram, because pets, you know, we don't have any agenda. They're just beautiful, they're in the moment, they're happy. And that's usually a really, really good choice to make us feel expansive, to make us feel loved, to make us feel good, grateful. It could be nature, it could be anything really, but just feel within your body, what does it feel like to be happy, to be grateful for something in your life? And maybe you can even like sense yourself smiling. Maybe you sit taller, maybe you breathe more deeply, maybe your heart expands. So notice where you feel that in your body. And know that right now you're sending out the vibration of gratitude. And as you do so, the universe is already responding and bringing more things to you that you can be grateful for. And as you're in that vibration, really, as you start the manifesting process, the attracting process, the first thing that comes in, that's being drawn into your manifestation, is thoughts that match your thought. So maybe you have more thoughts and you remember more things that you're really grateful for. And so you start momentum in that direction where you create more and more and more gratitude in your life, and you increase that energy in your vibrational field, and becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. And the more you feel into it and the bigger you let it become, the more you're drawing it in, the more the universe responds to this intensity of your desire. And the more often you take time during the day to go into gratitude, the more it will be answered, the more you will bring it in. And with that, you can slowly open your eyes again if you like. And with that, what happens is that, like Evan also said, your mindset starts shifting, because now you're coming from a vibration of gratitude, of possibility, of you know, all the good things that you already have in your life. And so vibrationally speaking, your mind, your thoughts, the experience around you, the universe is answering you already and bringing you more of that to be grateful for. And at first, you know, we have this radar screen that we look at in our reality, that we understand, but there's so much outside of the radar screen. And outside of the radar screen is really all the things that the universe handles. So if you're bringing in a partner right now, you don't know what's outside of your radar screen. You only know the 5 people maybe that are on your radar screen, but the universe can bring to you all those other perfect matches that you are not even aware of. And it does all the heavy lifting for you. And all you need to do is stay true to your vision, feel into the emotions of what you desire. And so when you're right now thinking, oh, I need more opportunities to increase impact right now, or to amplify money in my life, to find new jobs, like all of that is out there. And the good news is that you don't have to understand how it will come to you. The how and when are none of your business. It's just about what you desire and really feeling into that feeling of already having it. And sometimes that can feel really weird, because we've been taught that the world works in a completely different way, because they don't want you to know this. They don't want you to know that all of your power is within you, and that you can create through your thoughts and emotions, and that it's actually, if you master yourself, it's really, really easy to master this whole world. So this is my empowering message really to you today, that whatever happens on the outside, it really ultimately, it doesn't matter, because all your power has always been within you. The universal laws have been true for all the time, all the ages of time, and they're still true now. So remember who you are, come back to yourself, take this time to go within, to get really clear on what it is that you want in your life, and start believing as if it's already happening, as if it's already true. Visualize it, bring it to life in your inner reality, and it will manifest in your external reality as well.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you. That was amazing. Which actually, like the next, I'm going to be speaking next, and I'm going to be talking about relationships. And I think that was just a perfect way to transition, you know, getting clarity, going within. So thank you so much. And for all of our attendees here today, if you have questions for Sharon, please leave them in the group chat. And we'll get to those questions after all the speakers have spoken. Yeah, thank you again, Sharon.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right. So, like I've said, so up next, I will be sharing a little bit about relationship coaching. But what I figured I could also share about was something that is really like actively happening to me right now. Like I run a content company, and one of our goals is to really to build communities, but to also help people online and digitally. And that's why we've created this online community, and also starting to facilitate online events to get people connected and to get people to relate to each other, and get people to still interact and build relationships um, despite the social distancing and the limitations that we have, like in the physical aspect as of now. So um yeah, so I'm gonna jump in. I don't think I need to introduce myself any further than I already have. But at first, before I really dive into, relationship coaching, I want to share about how, what's happening right now. The crisis, the global crisis, the pandemic is affecting businesses. Small businesses like myself or some that really need to stay offline, um, have had to close down, have had to stop operations. And it's about coming up with creative solutions to keep things afloat. So that's one of our goals, why we're doing this, why we're giving speakers and coaches from different industries an opportunity to speak and to share about what they're experiencing, what they're learning, what's coming up for them, and what they can share to our community and their community, and to anyone else that we're able to reach, so that we can move forward and really charge ahead, instead of to feel stuck, to feel as if there's no option, there's no choice, there's no option, there's only that feeling of I'm I've no choice. Like I'm almost like I've failed. Like this pandemic has crushed me. It's crushed my soul. It's crushed my business. And how do I want to transition that into relationship? Because when you hear relationship, I'm sure the first thing that comes into mind is romantic relationships, lovers, like romantic partners. But relationship is so much more than that. It's your relationship with your parents, your relationship with your siblings, your relationship at work, your relationship with your boss, with your coworkers, your friends, right? So your close family, your extended family. So these are all relationships. And if you pay close attention, your life is surrounded by relationships. And with what's happening right now, we've had to, one, really create that physical distance, that physical limitation to be with the people that we love, to hang out with our friends, to visit our parents, to travel. So it's created a lot of frustrations. And I would say these frustrations can feel like breakdowns. It feels as if we've been stopped. It feels as if there's no other option but to follow something that we're not used to. It feels as if we're suddenly, limited and small, and we're kept in a space wherein I I can't express myself with the people that I love. And then on the other side of the spectrum, you have couples and you have family members cooped up in small places. Like, for example, I know for a fact in Hong Kong, we have limited space. We have small apartments. And if you have a family of 5 living in a 3-bedroom apartment, and you're all forced to stay in self-isolation of quarantine, and you're not allowed to go out except for like essential buying or for anything medical related, you can sometimes feel like you're always getting triggered, or you don't have your own personal space, and then you snap, you react. One word that you don't like, or one thing that happens that isn't going your way, becomes a trigger for you to react and respond in a negative way. And I'm not sure if a lot of you have experienced that or are experiencing it or might be experiencing it in the near future. But here now in this space, what I want to create with you guys is that possibility that it doesn't have to be that way, like the possibility of communication. And this is something that Evan and Sharon has also touched upon, and I want to bring it back in this session, is that open communication with the people that you're around, and not just with your partners, not just with your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband, your wife, not just with your the romantic aspect, but with people that you live with. If you live with your parents, if you live with your siblings, that should be extended to them as well, because those are also relationships. And again, it's we're not used to being around each other 24/7 or all the time, or the max, like the majority of the day. So we don't know how to respond to situations wherein we feel cooped up, we feel as if we don't have our own space, we feel like we're against the wall and we can't breathe. And it's normal. It's normal to start having panic attacks. It's normal to feel anxiety, and it's normal not even to know what those are and not catch them when they're happening. And it's normal to instantly think that, or make things mean as if they are negative, and to respond negatively to that person. So going back to what Evan and Sharon was saying, is clarity communications, creating that space for someone to openly talk to you about their frustration, and also creating that space for yourself to fully express yourself, to say what you're feeling and what you mean, but also allowing that other person to do the same for themselves, right? Because more often than not, what we do and what happens is, when we're trying to have a conversation, it's all about, this is what I feel, this is what I think, this is what this is what I think you mean, this is what I think you're trying to do to me, this is what I think you're trying to make me feel. But what we rarely think about is, what does this person actually mean, right? This is the meaning that I put into what this person does, what this person says, or how this person reacts or responds to me. But have I allowed this person to share with me what they mean, what they actually mean, because what their intentions are? So if there's anything that I want to share with you right now, or leave with you right now, is to seek for that intention, is to listen for the commitment behind what they're saying, is to listen and really, really listen for what it is that they're intending for you to get. And again, going back to, the answer is within, the power is within. Listen also to yourself as to, what do you intend for this conversation? What's my intention behind saying this to this person, right? Being intentional, being aware of why we're reacting a certain way, or why we responded a certain way, can help for the next instant that it happens, right? And I think another level to that is, when you do react negatively, and when you do say or do something that you didn't mean to do, or you feel bad about, is to not get stuck on the guilt, and to not get stuck on that feeling of bad, and just utilize what you've learned, and learn from it, really understand, oh my gosh, like, where did that come from, right? Or why did I respond that way? And use it for the next time that it happens. And then hopefully the next time that it does, like something similar, a similar situation that that you responded negatively to before, when something similar like that happens again, you can be a bit more aware, or really quick to get aware that, oh, okay, like, this is happening again, and so now how will I respond, and what is my intention? And again, listen for the commitment of the other person and the intention that they have for bringing that conversation in your place. So that's just, like, again, we're all experiencing this crisis wherein we have to social distance, and we have to be far away from people that we love, or we are restricted to seeing them. So, and in that case, it's also about communicating as well. I know it's tough to do that through messaging, but we have opportunities like this, like video calls, that wherein we can still create that connection. But goes as well for video calls. Like sometimes, things might get misconstrued with their words, but it's just, again, allowing that space for both of you to really get clear and communicate on what the intention is behind what you're saying. So, yep. I think that's all I have to share just in terms of that. If you want to speak more, if you have any more questions for me about relationships, and again, not just restricted to couples and partners, it's with parents and siblings and friends and employers, employees, all of that, that's all in the realm of relationships, feel free to also reach out to me. We will be sending an email with a way to contact our coaches and our speakers, so you will get that information after the webinar. Right, so thank you for listening to my part of the session. We're gonna move on to the next part, and I want to introduce this next speaker. She is a dear friend of mine, and she's also been a catalyst for a lot of really wonderful things that's happening in the world, right? And it's such an honor, again, to have her here with us, because we're all busy people. You taking the time to be here means a lot. I appreciate that so much. But the panelists here, like, spending time to come up with their topics and giving this time to really share with us is also such valuable, and I truly appreciate. Janice Lau is going to be talking about sustainability, but before she jumps on and turns her mic on and shares her screen, I just want to introduce her to you guys formally, because I'm not sure if you've read the social post that we posted, which basically summarizes their bio and their experience, but to just reiterate that, I want to introduce Janice. And Janice has a very rare background as both an environmental scientist and a development economist. She has a degree from the University of Oxford as a full scholar under the prestigious British Chevening program. And it's only given to the best and brightest talents outside of the UK. And I can vouch for this, and I all my life, I think Janice is one of the smartest people, but also the most compassionate person that I've ever met. So both of her expertise require mastery of science and mathematics, and Janice is incredibly passionate about the understanding and utilization of math to the protection of the environment and encouraging a behavioral shift towards a just society using economic models that make business a force for good. And again, I can vouch for Janice. She loves math. She uses math for everything. And only through her have I actually been able to use math in my day-to-day life. So I will let Janice continue with her to start her presentation. So Janice, please.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Awesome. Yeah, so I had to kind of put the kids in one room and tell them to stay there for a while.
Amazing, yes.
Just the reality of my life at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But thank you for having me. And I was smiling when Kolo was talking about math. Yes, I absolutely love math. Love it. And I know people think that's very geeky. But I think I want to start by saying that the thing I wanted to share most of all is that in this time of uncertainty and stress, I found that it's time to find meaning in our life as opposed to happiness. Happiness seems to be like, oh, I'm happy, so I want to be happy, so let me buy like French fries because it makes me happy. But that's not very lasting. That emotion isn't lasting. And the reason I want to talk about meaning and sustainability is because I found meaning in my life through my work. And so that's why when people are so surprised when I talk to them about math, or I talk to them about economic models, or I talk to them about my job, and I'm a huge empath, so I easily get I really can put myself in the situation of another person and really feel their pain, and that's always good and bad. As I've spoken to Cola, sometimes that's not very good because I kind of get into the into the emotions of other people when I should kind of set myself apart. But the reason why I want to talk about meaning is I think the world has forgotten that that is really the reason why we live. We have to find purpose in our life. And for me, I've in this current situation, um, I have found that the reason for the meaning in my life and the reason for the purpose of what I'm doing has come so much to the fore now that I'm seeing what's unfolding. And my job, I am an environmental scientist, and part of my job is to warn people of these types of disasters way before people can even imagine. So I am a climate change scientist. So obviously I look in climate change, I look at when that's going to happen. And one of the things I've been looking at is how we have not been so good to nature. And this has probably led to a lot of viruses that we don't necessarily expect. But for a scientist like myself, we've known that when we continue to develop land that is not like our virgin rainforests or virgin land or developed land that has not been developed before, there are certain wildlife that is impacted by us developing that certain area. So it doesn't come as a surprise to myself and a lot of scientists. I mean, it's surprising how fast this virus has spread, but it's not surprising that this virus comes from nature. That has always been something that scientists like myself, we've always known this as a fact. And the reason I want to talk about it is I also want to explain to people that in the sustainability field, I have to live in a world of uncertainty. So when people ask me, oh, Janice, tell me what the economic models are going to look like 15 months from now. I can't give you with a lot of certainty. I can only give you, I guess, some range of what that world could look like in 15 months. And I realized that people are not very good with uncertainty. And unfortunately, that is the job of scientists and mathematicians like myself, is not to give people a foolproof answer to your questions. It's to give some sort of framework to say this could happen, but I think the probability is around 70%. And in this day and age, especially now when people ask me, I get a lot of questions, even from my family, saying, how can you not be so sure? Why are you not sure? I'm not sure. I'm not a fortune teller. So I'm like a weather forecaster. I can sort of tell you what the world could look like based on the information I have today, but I'm not 100% certain whether those things are going to happen or not. And so that's the job of a lot of people in sustainability. But the one thing I'm very sure of is I know that a lot of people are going to suffer because of, this is one thing I'm very, very sure of. I know a lot of people are going to be impacted by what's happening today. And just going back to the meaning part, what my team and I have been doing is we've been collating all the information from different different charities that we work with and different charities that we don't work with, when we're asking them, what can we do to help? And initially, when we started this, the consolidation of the support with the different charities, a lot of my friends were saying to me, oh, you're not going to make a difference because you're only one person. Or you're not going to be building a vaccine, or you're not going to come up with a cure for the virus. But what I find is, I find it's really odd, but I find meaning and happiness when I start reaching out to help someone else. And that is something, and what we're finding today from a wellness perspective, and I'm talking more from a mental and emotional wellness, we are not going to find a solution to the impacts of this virus on our own. We need everybody to come together. So if because I live in Hong Kong, if there are people in Hong Kong who are hungry because they lost their jobs, if we don't help them, then they become more prone to getting infected. So then that means that we're going to continue to be in this lockdown situation for another few weeks. But if we all help together, it's like the when the tide rises, you want everybody to rise as well, not just yourself. And so I'm trying to, as a head of sustainability in my company, this is one of the things we're encouraging with our staff. Like, let's all help each other, whether it's doesn't need to be just cash. You can, call an elderly person who's isolated in one of the one of the elderly centers in Hong Kong and have a conversation. At this moment in time, which is so unprecedented, everything helps, from calling someone to even just donating maybe in Hong Kong dollars or 100 Hong Kong dollars to help a family who needs to be fed in Hong Kong, for example, or somewhere around the world. Every little thing helps. And because I've been doing sustainability for so long, what I find is a lot of people tell me, a lot of my colleagues in my current company, in my previous companies, when they help people, they come back to me and say, oh my gosh, I feel so much better because I've made a difference. And actually what I find is that's even more, in a way, that's kind of like the antidote to the virus, in a sense. And I don't talk it from a scientific point of view, but more from an emotional and mental point of view, because we feel so helpless and we feel that we can't control the situation. But I can control helping someone else. So that's the job. That's what we do in sustainability, is provide a platform for people to be able to support other people. And you'll be amazed. I just can't, it's like sugar to your soul. the feeling and the emotion you get from helping another person who is in need in whatever way possible, the effects of that can be so long lasting. It's almost like you're on such a high, and then you almost like, oh, I want to have that high again, so let me help someone again. And then it just, it keeps building. And that's kind of that's what we need currently in this situation, and something that I hope we will see post COVID-19. I'm hoping that we see that in order for the world to thrive, we all have to help and thrive together. So there's no such thing as me building a barrier in my little world or you building a barrier in your own little world. That actually creates more isolation. The irony is, once we bring down those barriers and I'm starting to help another person, and that person, then I start feeling good about it, and then that other person feels inspired by the fact that I've helped them, then that becomes almost like this chain reaction of compassion and love. And I know it sounds very cheesy, but trust me, in my years of working sustainability, nothing can quite, I have not found any, maybe exercise is the closest feeling you can get in terms of happiness and fulfillment and meaning when you're starting to help another person. So I wanted to kind of talk a bit about that from a sustainability point of view. On the other end, that's from the emotional and wellness point of view. But on the other end, people always talk about me from a long-term sustainability. So how are we going to sustain this world when it, will we be able to get back to pre the virus in terms of the economy or in terms of how businesses are going to work? I'm hopeful that this will mean that the world will become a better place, because as I said earlier, now we understand everybody's linked together, that if we are only as a society, we are only as good as our weakest link. And when our weakest link are the poorest of the poor, if they are the ones who don't have the right healthcare benefits, for example, or don't have jobs, then if that is the weakest link, that is the reflection of us as a society. So the people in sustainability, what our job is to enable to strengthen those weakest links, help companies strengthen those weakest links, so that becomes a reflection of all of us as a society. And so people ask me, so how do you get that done? And that is really, again, done by us having business models that are more sustainable. So no longer trying to find shortcuts or corners in terms of, oh, I'm not going to comply with this standard because, it's just going to save me a couple $1,000, for example. I hope that companies will take a step back and say to themselves, wait, who's paying the price when I'm taking these shortcuts? Is it the staff who are paying the price? Is it my customers are paying the price. And so I hope post COVID-19 or even now, people are reflecting upon these questions and saying, you know, when we take these shortcuts, short-term cuts, someone is paying the price. It may not be me, someone else is doing it. And so that's why sustainability is a very holistic way of looking at society, looking at how you operate as a business, and also looking at how you behave as an individual. So it's kind of all these different ways of looking at sustainability, but it's really all about this holistic view of the world, not just of the world around you, but also of yourself. That's it.
Amazing. Thank you, Janice. That was amazing. And I guess just to add on to that, you know, like hearing about how we need to come together as a community to be able to get through this, and how do we create avenues, and how do we create that space and platform for people to actually come together to do this. And we've had so many discussions about this also outside of that. And there are people out there who are doing this. It's just about how do we get this out to people? How do we send this message? And how do we start spreading the word that this is available, that we do need to come together, right? Because during a time of crisis, we usually panic and we think, oh, like this is the end of what I know life to be. And that's, to some extent, that's correct. But is it really something that we need to take on when we move forward? Like that panic, is that worry serving us or serving the people around us, serving our community? Not really, right? But again, thank you to people like you who run an organization and who also integrate well-being into just everything that you do, the business that you're involved in. And I think it's very valuable, because not a lot of organizations and businesses do that. So thank you, Janice, for your time. Yeah. Great. So up next, everyone, we have Kevin Choi, who is live from Hong Kong. And Kevin, first and foremost, is a great guy. And I'm sure the attendees here who know him can vouch for that. But Kevin is also passionate about helping others age gracefully through optimizing their bodies and active lifestyle recovery through manual therapy and movement. So he was one of the first 2 people who got certified for kin stretch instructors in Hong Kong, and the first in Manila. So currently he is developing his own bespoke physical medicine programs that he prescribes to people he sees one-on-one and in group setting. I'm going to let Kevin speak to us more about what he does and what his new programs are. So Kevin, please go ahead.
See and hear me well?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So before I start, hello everyone. So yeah, my name is Kevin Choi. And before I dive into this a lot more, just want to say thank you for the invitation, Kola and her team. Even if it was like very last minute, I think they were able to organize it quite well, and also calm me down, as I am quite a nervous person and an introvert, but here I am, and we're gonna do this.
Yes.
So yeah. I studied physiotherapy back in Manila, graduated 2011, and I've been in Hong Kong for about 7 years now. And I help run a clinic called Momentum. We're in Central, and it's been quite a weird time, especially with the whole pandemic, because most of our business is basically or involves a lot of touch and a lot of contact, and a lot of face-to-face coaching and therapy sessions. So it has been quite challenging to innovate and invent ourselves, basically, with still wanting and still trying to help people either in pain or who are also coping with working from home. So you can definitely see like a trend as well with what people are starting to deal with when working at home. We have been, or humans have been, more sedentary than ever before. And even now that we are working from home a lot more, it has definitely increased or has blown up in quite a very sort of overwhelming way. Hold on, I have a presentation, so I'm going to dive into that. There you go. No, yes, share. Can you see the slide?
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Okay, cool. So movement, self-care in the time of Corona. Basically, self-care is the number 1 thing we love to teach every human that walks through our doors here at Momentum. It is it is a sustainable way and a very proactive approach to therapy and preventing or mitigating injuries. And especially during this time, being remote with our clients or being away from our clients, this is one way how we can still manage people's pain and also try to help them bounce back with whatever injury that they have. So defining self-care, well, that's the flow. So what is self-care? WHO defines self-care as the ability of individuals, families, and communities to promote health, prevent disease, maintain health, and to cope with illness and disability with or without the support of a healthcare provider. So again, like what I mentioned a while ago, clients will usually see us usually or primarily for symptom management. So symptom management, people that are very aware of what physiotherapists do or physical therapists do, it's mostly a lot of manual therapy, which is massage, stretch therapy, acupuncture, and at the same time, we also deal and assess people's movements or functions. We also look at the psychological aspect of things, may it be the trauma from the injury, their stress levels at work, the environment that they surround themselves in, and just basically looking also at physical checks, which is also joint health stuff, joints in the body. We then look at treating this or managing all of this by modifications through lifestyle, mindset modifications, and of course like habit or system education for them. Again, this is the most valuable thing they can take away from our sessions, just so that they are not fully dependent on us. We love and we are happy to see people walking pain-free and also very independent. We can do this by helping everyone understand why they experience pain, why the injury has happened, how to manage that, or how to troubleshoot it, and most importantly, also empower them, just so that pain basically won't run their lives or won't control their worlds. So we have like a list, or I do have like a little bit of a pie here of positive self-care habits. So these are examples of how we can go about self-care. So you have sleep, very, very important. Of course, doing what you love. You have meditation, healthy eating, reflecting on thoughts and emotions, of course, fresh air and sunlight exposure or sun exposure. And the topic that I'm going to dive into the most today would be moving your body. Um, so having good self-care habits is basically that holistic approach to things. One thing I was noticing when I was listening to the speakers before me was how actually everyone in this panel so far has been just crossing paths into giving advice and how to basically deal with this time. So that's really, really good. So dealing with working from home basically has decreased movement in our body or in our everyday lives. So it's quite important to recognize this, to be mindful about it, and to take some breaks once in a while to check in with our bodies as well. A lot of the times pain would come out or pain would show and manifest when we start to basically be static or when we try to keep like just one posture for a very, very long time. So usually, we all have, or most of us would have activity trackers, and the activity tracker or the, let's say, Apple Watch would tell us or ping us a message or send us a notification if we do need to move. So the body kind of has, or your body has your own activity tracker or Apple Watch, basically. And that will come in the form of either discomfort or tightness or pain. So once basically you try to maintain that posture for quite a while as you're working, or even just watching Netflix or anything at all that you're doing at home, you then will start to feel a little bit of discomfort or like a little bit of a sign, and then you'll probably start to massage yourself, massage your lower back, start to stand up from your chair and just try to move around, and you immediately feel much better. So I would then try to advise people to not just only try to keep a perfect posture, but I would coach my clients or my patients to always have a moving posture. So your best posture is actually your next one. The more you move, the better it is. The more nutrients you have into your joints and your tissues, that keeps you also in check mentally as well. Just having, let's say, like your pet or your dog at home, let's say, the dog would go crazy if you keep them inside. So as much as possible, you want to try to find some ways to get out, even if it's just right in front of your doorstep. Try to get some sunlight. And again, like what I said a while ago, just a little bit of movement breaks. This is what I like to teach a lot of people. Try and have them sprinkle that throughout the day. Naturally, we as human beings, we're placed here on Earth, I believe, as hunters and gatherers. And today's modern age, and even throughout history, we haven't been doing that. Our bodies have not yet evolved to cope, basically, and to react well to the modern age. And that's why a lot of our issues and injuries would come from basically sedentary lifestyle and not moving as much. And that's basically law of specificity. Like the more we move, the more static we are. That's what our bodies are going to be good at. That's the format and the habit that we are going to have, basically. So if you want to be good at being active, move more, and then stay active as well. Cool. Where are we? So yes, that's the pandemic. So staying at home, world has practically gone on lockdown. So these are the things that I've already touched on. Being stuck at home, psychological effects, difficulty in adjusting to the new normal, leaning towards more sedentary lifestyle. Done with that. But then, yes, we are stuck in our spaces, big or small, but it's how you can change your narrative or just how to basically shift that mindset. Like what Evan was also, what he mentioned earlier on. So if we can treat this as an opportunity to work on our bodies or to assess ourselves, this can also be an opportunity to develop new habits, and an opportunity to incorporate self-care in your day. So we would usually teach people, morning routines in order to also warm up for your day. At the same time, you can also assess your joints, and basically say, how's my neck doing? So you take your neck in your extreme ranges of motions, see which position, which direction you feel tension. If you're feeling like a pinch on one side, usually that's something that we don't force. So let's make this an opportunity, basically, rather than something negative. Give me a second. So basically, you've touched on this as well, why I prescribe movement as self-care, but to also dive deep in. Sorry, I'm just going to try to delete this pop-up. So movement is a superfood for your body. Research and experience, of course, has taught us that physical activity is really good for this. This stimulates also our endocannabinoid system, or this is the contributor to that runner's high that we feel. So not only endorphins, but the endocannabinoid system, which basically is responsible for a lot of things, emotion-wise, anxiety, just that feeling of euphoria as well. So this is basically the same stuff that you can get from CBD or marijuana. So you have that locked in you, and you have that potential to release that as well. Cool. I am going to, and yes, physical activity helps with the body's resilience and, of course, increasing your immune system. Second. Cool. So there are a lot of free online classes now these days. We should and can be critical about all of this as well. It doesn't always have to be go, go, go all the time. It doesn't have to be HIIT. It doesn't always have to be, I need to lose weight, but it's also creating something sustainable, and do sort of like your own quality control as to who you're going to engage with, and who you are going to, or which classes you're going to basically dive into. Hold on. Sorry, guys. How do I go back to Zoom? Zoom. So sprinkling in movements every day, control articular rotations or CARs. That's what I usually basically teach people. It's the joint circles. So you can put that in when you do Netflix, CARs while you chat with someone, or in any time that you can basically move. So move as much as you can, and move with quality, and pain-free as well. If you do want to reach out, you can follow me on Instagram. My handle is Miyagi Hands, so just Mr. Miyagi from the Karate Kid. And you can email me at kevin@lifeandmomentum.com. Cool. I guess that's it for me.
Yes. And if you have questions for Kevin, please leave them again in the chat. Thank you, Corey, for putting it in the chat. And we had another question in Q&A. We'll also bring that all together for the last part of the webinar. And before I introduce the next one, Kevin, I just wanted to say it is very difficult, especially when you have a small space, to create that routine, like that movement, right? And I think it's again about just shifting that mindset and that perspective that we can use what we have around us. It doesn't always have to be actual gym equipment. It doesn't have to be something that makes your body feel stressed, like, or your joints feel stressed. It can be simple movements, as you said, just to ensure that we're still moving and we're still flowing, and we can keep that momentum in our body. Did you see that I used momentum there?
Yeah. Basically, you
yeah.
lose it,
Yeah.
use it, or you lose it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think while I was listening to you speak, what really came up for me was that and this is something that I've heard from before and I've tried to instill in my life, is to listen to your body and to listen to what it's telling you, to listen for when it's time to stand up, to listen for when it's time to sit up. So thank you for that. And I absolutely love the part, because this was such a great transition to our next speaker, where you mentioned that movement is a superfood and for the body, because our next speaker is going to be talking about health and nutrition. So thank you again, Kevin, and we'll see you later for the panel discussion. Okay, so to everyone here who's attending, I hope you're still there. I hope you're still feeling the fire, and I hope that you're getting the value from this webinar that we hope to give to you. Our next speaker is Jenna, and she is, again, I feel like I'm saying this for all the speakers, but because all of the speaker in this lineup is amazing. But let me just read a little bit more about Jenna to those of you who do not know her. Jenna is founder of Bennett PR and previously co-founder of Highlight Asia. She is based in Hong Kong and started off her career with a love for marketing, digital content, and events. On the sidelines, she noticed an arising ignition of passion in holistic health, wellness, and fitness. She followed her intuition and is now a health and fitness coach in training. Her goal is to empower women to be mindful of their health, to deepen and better understand one's connection to themselves, and strengthen their relationships to live a balanced, abundant life through fitness and holistic health. So without further ado, I'm going to let Jenna take the show.
Hi guys!
Hello! I love
that energy. Hi everyone! First of all, thank you so much, Kola, for pushing me and inviting me to speak. It's such a great idea that you bringing this, putting this together under such a short period of time. So thank you so much. I've also made a presentation, so I'm gonna put that up. Give me a second. Can everyone see? Can you see that?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So yes, as Kola said, I am training a health coach in training. And today I'd like to speak to you about how being mindful with what we eat can help us connect and understand ourselves more deeply. So people today in today's world are becoming more aware of their overall health and nutrition. We're being more mindful and we're engaging with what we're really putting into our bodies. There's the saying that our gut is our second brain. So what we eat just affects everything that we do. So I'd like to share a few tips on how we can be mindful of what we eat. So what is mindful eating? First, we need to explore what mindfulness really is. So mindfulness refers to a non-judgmental state of purposeful awareness that brings yourself to the present moment. So everything that's happening now, not the past, not the future. And it allows for internal and external experiences without the pressure to alter the moment or to take immediate action at the time. And you can see more and more, especially during this time, people are looking at ways to reduce their stress. They're turning more towards mindfulness meditation. I can vouch for that. Whenever I'm feeling stressed, I definitely tune into myself. And practicing mindfulness helps me reduce my stress. And it also connects myself to a more deeper level. So mindful eating is basically applying those techniques but to eating, and what we do every day. I mean, every day we eat. So there is the saying that we are what we eat. We are. But today I'd like to focus on not what we eat, but how we are eating, how we processing our food on a day-to-day basis. So, the mindful eater. How can we distinguish if we're eating mindfully in our daily lives? I mean, I can imagine now with the situation, we're now at home more often. Our spaces have turned more into our office space, our living room, our relaxation space. We eat like when we're working and vice versa. So yeah, how can we be more mindful about our day-to-day lives when we eat? I hope that makes sense. So first, I've put together a little toolkit on how to be a mindful eater. How can we distinguish between eating emotionally and eating because we're hungry? So first of all, I'd suggest to check in with yourself and ask and reflect. Before eating, just ask yourself, am I hungry? Am I thirsty? What do I want to eat or drink? And also reflecting on how you feel. Do you feel rushed at the time? Do you feel stressed? Are you feeling sad? Or perhaps you're just feeling really relaxed and you've cooked an amazing meal and you just can't wait to enjoy it. So with this technique, we can really check in and figure out our emotions, which is really important, especially during the stressful times. So which goes into my next slide about how we can really distinguish between physical hunger and emotional eating. So when you're physically hungry, it just comes on gradually, and you can basically hold it off if you need to. And you can also be satisfied with any type of food because you just really want to fill that hunger in your belly. And once you're full, you can actually stop eating. And it causes satisfaction and no guilt at all. But I mean, during this time, I can imagine everyone is, stressed out, so we're eating emotionally. So it's really good to figure out and be aware if you are emotionally eating. So emotionally eating, what does it feel like? It comes on suddenly, it feels really urgent. It causes specific cravings, like your favorite food, junk foods like ice cream, pizza, whatever that may be. And you always like to binge eat it. You eat more normally than you should, and you just feel really uncomfortably full after. And it just leaves you feeling extremely guilty and mad with yourself. So that's what it's like to emotionally eat. Emotional eating is not a bad thing at this time, I wouldn't say, but it's really important to be aware if you are doing it, so you're in control of your feelings and what you're putting into your body. My next point would be controlling your portions when you eat. So if you're at home, you're eating for one. Portion sizing is really important. Obviously, if you're cooking just for yourself, perhaps you can use smaller plates instead of large plates. I mean, it goes to show if you've filled like such a big plate with a lot of food, you're definitely going to overeat. And also, if you're food prepping, just be mindful again of your portion sizing. So if you're cooking for the whole week, perhaps you can store your food in smaller Tupperwares instead of large Tupperwares. So you're just really tuning in to how much you're really putting into your body. And my next point would be easy access. Now we're at home, almost all the time since we're on lockdown, especially in other countries. So it's good to see what kind of healthy choice snacks are available to you. Perhaps you could swap out chips for fruits, vegetables, nuts, and if you have them more readily available, so you can see them around, you're more likely to eat it. Like I love nuts, so I just always have cashews, pecan, walnuts on my, around my living room. I always have blueberries in the fridge, or I'm vegetarian, so I love having carrot sticks in my fridge and then dipping it in hummus. So it's just being mindful of those healthier options we can eat throughout the day, especially now since we're cooped up at home. So another thing, I know this sounds really silly, but actually sitting down at your dining table to eat and paying attention to what you're eating at the time. I mean, I can imagine lots of us right now are eating in front of our TV and lunching in front of our computers, so we're not really breaking up our days, which is also completely fine. We just need to be more aware of what we're doing. So I would suggest to not multitask when you're eating and to remove all technology from the dinner table. It's also nice to set time to just be with your food while you're eating. So if you're eating your meals at the dinner table, you can also better track how much you've eaten because you're just not distracted. Which comes to my next point, which is if you actually sit down for your meal, you can actually really enjoy your meal if you eat it slowly. So eating slow is one of the best ways we can get our mind and body to communicate what we really need for nutrition. The body actually sends its satiation signal about 20 minutes after the brain, which is why we often unconsciously overeat, because if we're eating so fast, it just doesn't catch up to our brain, and then we just realize, oh, we've just overeaten a lot. So if we can just slow down, you can give your body a chance to catch up to your brain and hear the signals to eat the right amount. This could also just be, eating slowly, actually having conversation with your partner or friends at home if you're living with other people, and also maybe just taking sips of water in between each bite. So these are just simple tips. And of course, when you're eating slowly, you can also turn your senses on. I mean, food is such a beautiful thing, like the taste, the textures. So when you're much more mindful, we can think, the smell of the food that you've just cooked. What does it trigger? Does it trigger a memory? Or the texture? What does it feel like? Is it crunchy, smooth, or maybe it's just really gross and slimy and you're just like, why did I make this? What does it look like? Is it really vibrant in colors? The presentation, the amount of time you've put effort into making your food. And it's just the same as when you when you have wine tasting. You swirl the wine in your mouth for a few seconds to taste the grapes, the acidity, the fruitness. I mean, it's all so amazing when you really turn those senses on to what you're eating. And my next point would be connect. How about to connect to where your food is coming from? Many of us don't consider where a meal comes from beyond the packaging in the supermarket. So, I think it's a shame because eating offers an incredible opportunity to connect us more deeply to the natural world, to think about where our food is coming from, and the amount of people involved it takes just to make a meal, like the sourcing to buying it to preparing it. I think it's such a beautiful thing, and it's great if we can connect to our food a bit more and understand where our food is coming from. And to my last point is, it's an act of self-love. When you put effort and love into buying, sourcing, and prepping your food, the time it takes to cook your food, it's such an act of self-love and appreciation for yourself, because you're putting, time aside to listen to your body, your soul, and your mind. And it's, self-love is super important during this time. We need to be more patient with ourselves and to be more kind to ourselves. And during that is to just be more mindful of what we're doing day to day and eating. I don't know if I've run out of time. Do I still have time?
Yes, I think you still have
Yeah.
time.
Okay, cool. Well, so I hope these, tips are ways you can take away to connect to your emotions while eating and to your food, especially when you're at home and you're meal prepping. So just to summarize the benefits of mindful eating. So being mindful of your food empowers choice. When you're mindful, you're able to make better decisions. And I think that's super important. And, every day we're in a routine. So we're consciously running on autopilot all the time. So it's great to get off it and just to be more aware of what you're doing and be more mindful of what you're eating, you're thinking, and doing. And that just helps you to listen to your body and pay attention to your body and what it needs. So if your body is telling you you really want to eat pizza right now, not saying that eating pizza is a bad thing, but the point I'm getting at is when you're more mindful and you understand the reason why you want to eat pizza, then from there you can make better choices with everything else. Then that gives you more freedom to control your cravings, especially when you understand the way you're eating. It gives you a renewed sense of hunger and when you're hungry and you're full. This leads you to, trust yourself a bit better because you know now how to distinguish and make better decisions for your mind and body. And, this can also help with weight management and also to improve your health and regulate your emotions better, because once you're in touch with yourself, you can understand your emotions and how you're feeling at the time. So just being really aware to it, I think it's really important. And it helps to build your self-esteem, which is more confidence within yourself, which I think it's super powerful tool, just being more aware. So yeah, this is just some brief points that I've touched on. I wish I had more time to go into everything else a bit more. Sorry if I'm like a motor mouth, just speaking a lot. But I hope the presentation helped for you to, now you're at home, to be more mindful of what you're eating. Of course, what you're putting into your body is extremely important. You should reflect, and when you're eating something, how do you feel after? Perhaps, you feel bloated after eating this, or you just feel crap after eating it. So it just helps a lot. Yeah. So a few things to take away is practicing at home. You could keep a food journal. I know that really helps. You could try a mindful eating exercise. There's this raisin exercise. If you just Google mindful eating raisin exercise into Google, there's like plenty of tips on how you can taste just one little raisin and how you can become so aware from just eating a raisin. So, and then just take some tips and give it a go and see how you feel.
Amazing. I think this is also just a very important topic that, and everyone's really interested in this, like food, and because people know food, but they don't know nutrition, and they don't know how to, what food to eat. Like, people work out a lot, but they don't really know that like 80% is what you eat, right? Or
yeah, totally.
I don't know the actual percentage. That's just, I made that up because, but
it's actually 100%. You are what you eat.
Yeah, it's 99.9%. Right? The 1% is the workout. But what I'm saying, the 0.1% is the workout. But what I'm saying is it's a great topic. We have so many people here. Just if you read through it, you'll have a lot of questions to answer at the end of the session. But it's very insightful, I think. And it's, one person, Corey, from one of the attendees, actually mentioned that sometimes she doesn't realize that what she's eaten, like during dinner when she's watching TV. We're so unaware, we're so unconscious of what we're doing. I do that too, and it's almost like next thing I know, I'm done with my food, but I still feel hungry, but I think it's just in my head, and then I'm overbuying and I don't really finish it, and then
that's exactly it. It's just like, I mean, it's great to like watch Netflix and eat your food. It's okay, but it's also good to like come back to really how you're feeling, and are you really full? I mean, I'm the same. I'm like, I'm hungry after.
And I think this is the perfect time, like being at home or being inside indoors, or it's just a time to just slow down and really appreciate everything that we're eating, everything that's happening, being present again, like integrating what all of the coaches have been saying, all the speakers have been sharing with us, is to slow down, be present, be aware. So right, thank you so much, Jenna. That was amazing.
Thank you.
And we'll see you again later at the panel discussion.
Super.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So up next, guys, we have Marcelino. Everyone knows him more as H. I call him H. He is going to be speaking to us about industrial technology, and he's coming all the way from Manila. Just before he comes on and he speaks, I do want to read a little bit more about him. So as I've said, many people call him H, and he sought off to pursue a lifelong passion that he has had since his early childhood. And this passion is for taking things apart, learning how they work, and putting them back together with his own little modification. So, which 99.9% of the time has never worked, whether it was grandma's old beat up radio or his parents' brand new home entertainment system. He left no casualties. It was in the midst of that chaos where H really realized where he found true, genuine peace. So in the middle of 2016, he made a decision to find that one place of peace again by writing his resignation letter 7 months ahead of time and leaving a very beautiful and fulfilling 19-year career in the radio broadcasting industry to start his very own tech business. So H, go ahead, take the floor.
Hey, what's going on?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Oh man, this is my first time on Zoom ever.
How is it? How's the experience?
It's pretty cool. Yeah, I should start using this with a team, so because they're kind of spread out right now and everything, so that's pretty dope. Yeah, if just to start things off, I guess what I could do is talk to you about what I do. I'm not like all the other speakers. Yeah, you guys don't really need to follow me, I guess, because one, yeah, I was a high school dropout back in the days. What do you call it? I graduated high school in jail, getting the GED. I'm not really a coach. I can't coach you guys, but maybe you could follow my story or somewhat. And then during that time that I was locked up, I was actually doing a lot of things like going to school in jail. So I got 3 years of my college done and everything. So yeah. Anyways, to get you guys started, I mean, I'll tell you a little bit about what I do, but I am in the tech business. I am in this industrial field, and let me see if I could find it here. Here we go. Is this showing? Yeah, I think so. Okay.
Yep, it's showing. I can see it.
Okay, I'm trying to get to the top of this thing. There it is. Yeah, anyways, I have a company called Houston Global Technologies. It actually started, yeah, back then around 2016 was the idea. 2017, I pursued it. In the business, I guess Mark Hamrick said it best. I guess everybody feels like this, every businessman, or even if you're not into business, there's no doubt. I think many of us are feeling like a boxer taking, body blows, uppercuts, left hooks, and getting hit in the face, just trying to stay right off the mat. You can see that a lot of people out there, they've kind of figured it out. China, including Hong Kong, you guys are doing really, really great. I wish we were in y'all's position. Fortunately, like, other countries like Australia and Philippines, we're still just about on the same field from what it looks like. So, I don't know if there's a lot of people that's into business or whatever, and that's tuned in right now, but yeah, what we do is we actually manufacture audio. We do loudspeakers, micro speakers, Bluetooth, proceeds, which makes me feel good. It goes to charity. We made this one of our number one purpose for the company. We've done headphones for AT&T. We've done the drivers for Beats. So we're not really in competition with a lot of these companies. I'll just make it quick. I mean, this is how hard it is. Back in 2019, on December, headphones were dominating the market sales. I did get news that, it might have a spike soon. So what I started doing was I started looking at all the statistics. A lot of people, what was the fastest growing? Being manufacturers in the field, other than headphones, we had to make a shift. I didn't want our workers without a job. Uh, they have families to feed, and it's pretty heartbreaking for for me to just explain how hard it is for them and for everybody, and what's going on, and even to see it for everybody in the entire world of what's happening. So I was seeing like disposable gloves were at 670%. These are the fastest growing on e-commerce right now. And the reason I started looking at these is because we're quarantined. A lot of people out there can't go out, or just about everybody can't go out, so for some reason, also bread machines, so we could see that. And I could see weight training stuff, home gyms. Those actually started to rise. Some of the things that aren't doing well, if you could see, are, luggages, suitcases, cameras. Of course, nobody's traveling. I feel bad for the tourism businesses all around the world. So we started trying to figure things out. I mean, even just not too long ago, they said that, headphones are likely to experience sales spikes. It means it's going to start going up because a lot more people are starting to do businesses from home, and they're starting to do a lot of things from home. And, you don't want to hear everything that's around you, especially if you're communicating with everybody else like we are doing now. Yeah, I got my headphones on. So yeah, what H-Tech actually started doing, like I said, we do mass manufacturing, we do tooling, design, brand consulting, we do distribution. This was the first plan that I was supposed to do for H-Tech. We were supposed to start making, USB batteries and things. But yeah, instead of that, yeah, we started doing medical supplies because also of the world shortage. This helps a lot of people, and you know what? It makes us feel good. There's people out there begging. There's people out there. Not too long ago, I think it was just a few days ago, one country, I think it was Bangkok. I think it was in Bangkok. It was a plane headed to Europe, and they said the plane got hijacked. It was full of masks, and they were blaming the U.S. for it. So that's how bad it is right now with, PPEs and everything. So we started manufacturing these things. So anyways, yeah, after all that, I started creating new products, being, somebody in industrial field. I like making toys. So we started creating something new. But anyways, back to it. Aspects in life. I find balance in life. That's basically what you really need to do. When I talk about balance, you want to be happy. A lot of people are lonely right now. They're stuck at home. They're quarantined. I can't imagine the people over there in Hong Kong, like Kola was saying earlier, that's just bunched up in a small apartment, or especially the people also in Japan that are stuck just in a little hole. It's like jail. But some of the things that you could actually look at when you're looking at the 5 aspects of life, or aspects of life from my perspective, would be work, your career, and your finance, your health, your physical health. There's also your learning. There's your personal development. That's very important. Your social, which is your relationship with others. And of course, spiritual, your relationship with the greater power above. Everybody else would name them something else, but to me, there's only one great power above, right? That thing that works for everybody. Yeah. What would happen if you lack something, even one part of that? You're going to have an imbalance. The point of life actually is happiness. It makes you feel better. And when you're not happy, you get sick. And then you die. So we want to live to the fullest as much as we can. And, if you lack one of these, with your work, your career, your work would be mediocre. You would fall short of your potential. You might even, you know, live with financial problems, which a lot of people are actually having. So, you know, work is a very important part of life. With me, my work is actually my social. Being an introvert, you know, a lot of people out there, they love having friends around them and everything. I'm just like, you know, happy if I'm just with my fiance or my animals or whatever. But, you know, my work actually is my social. And for some reason, it makes me happy to close deals, to help other people, you know, brand their whatever they have manufactured or anything. Somebody wanted their own headphones done, so it makes me happy to sit there and help them out with something like that. Geez, what's going on with my okay, health. You know, if you're not staying healthy, you're gonna get sick. Basically, like I said, you get sick, you die. A lot of people are, you know, conspiracy theorists out there, or even people that's trying to make sense of it all. You know, they said that a lot of people are getting weak and things like that because you have radiation around you that's making you sick and everything. You know, if you stay physically fit, you start working out and everything. Yeah, I'm sure we have our wellness coaches and everybody that you guys have contact to, and of course, Good Vibes Only movement will help you out with that. But yeah, you can't live without energy. Energy is very, very important. Um, what are the things? Learning. You would miss out on opportunities in life for the simple reason because you just don't know anything about it, right? You miss out on the important conversations. You know what happens when you stop learning? You start gossiping. And what does gossiping do? It starts tearing you down mentally. It starts breaking you down emotionally, and you know it just starts making you an evil person. For me, from what I think. You know, so start learning things. Go out there. I mean, not outside, but into the net. Learn something new and everything, so that you could, you know, learn a little bit more about what you want to do. Maybe you might find you a new field that you want to get into. You know, look at me. I don't know what on earth caused it, but maybe yeah, it was the coronavirus. But I don't know, or how would I say it? I would have never known that I'd be doing PPEs and medical things. Out of all the things that we could be manufacturing, we end up manufacturing or assembling things that help, you know, the medical field. Social, what would happen if you, you know, if that part of your life or that aspect of your life isn't working out for you? Well, you know what? You wouldn't feel that sort of happiness. You know, your friends, you know, you'll just be lonely. You'll be depressed. You're all on your own. Unless you're like me, I have cats and dogs, and I have my business.
Yeah.
But you might also feel lonely or depressed that you know you can't connect to anybody, and you know what? That's sad for a lot of people. You know, I see my fiance. She's like always talking to her friends and things like that. And for me, I just don't understand it. But for some reason, I guess it's just yeah, I'm an introvert. Spiritual, very important. You know, you would feel empty inside, no matter how successful you may seem to be, or you know, you know, if you're not built in spiritually, it's done. It's just like everything you've achieved, everything you're doing. You could be, you know, He-Man. You could be the most physical person on earth, or you know, you could be the most smartest person on earth. But if you're not grounded and you're not at one with a higher power or some sort of belief, I really believe that, life would be somewhat meaningless.
Cool.
So,
Yep.
right?
Sorry. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know what? It's very,
Let's wrap up. Yeah. But I think what I'm getting from what you're saying, again, I was actually going to say that, and now that I see that slide, I think it's balance, right? I think one of the most important things that we're getting out of this unfortunate global crisis is to really look within, to stop and find balance in all aspects of our life, like in our careers, in our relationships with people around us, and us being spiritual beings. What do we believe? Some people call it God, some people call it something else, some people call it like a higher power, you know, and so, and or energy, and then keeping that social aspect for us. Like we live, like our purpose, like one of my beliefs is that our purpose is to share, you know, share our achievements. Like there's no point in doing what, you know, being purposeful if I'm not able to share it with someone. Obviously, like on my own, I am okay, I am full, I am complete. But what brings joy is to be able to share that with other people. And
because it makes their life better.
Yeah.
You're adding on to their life, and you know what? They're making you better because you're seeing a part of yourself that you don't probably have.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the social part of the aspect of life that most people don't have. So I don't gossip, I don't talk. I have this thing for business and creating relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, the thing that's the hardest is creating the right relationship with everybody. I have teams all over the world now. I have teams in Russia. We built partnerships in South America and North America. We have sales groups all over the place. And right now, we also have to contract other things through other manufacturers because we cannot take the load. And the hard part is there's people ripping other people off, and what they're doing is there's other people trying to sell you something, and then I heard that when it arrives to you, it's not what you ordered. And what can you do? You ordered 50,000 masks, 500,000 masks. There's somebody that ordered 2 million masks the other day, one of our clients, and he said that they sent him something else. It wasn't the mask that he had. So it's hard.
It's a learning lesson. It's tough, and it's about tough. But it's about being aware of that, and doing your best, and deciding for what's good in that moment, and then moving forward, taking whatever repercussions that decision might have. So anything else to wrap it up? So before we introduce the next speaker, is there anything else that you'd like to say? Final words?
One of the things that you guys could actually do is just find balance in everything. Make the best out of what you guys have with you. I mean, you're stuck at home. What can you do? You could learn a new business. A lot of people are learning new businesses. I'm learning a new business right now. So it's really so cool for me to just interact with a lot of people out there. And just stay happy. Stay healthy. But to be honest, this was meant to be. Everything I think in life is meant to be. And whether or not you guys like what's happening, it's meant to break us down. That's what life does,
There's something to learn from this.
We just have to stand up. We just got to stand up. We got to take the blows. Don't fall on the mat. And if we do, just get back up. You got other rounds. You got more rounds to go.
Cool. Thank you, H. Thank you.
Thanks, Kola.
And I'll see you later for the panel.
Right.
But so up next, we have our last speaker before we move on to the panel discussion. We have Dave up next, but before he comes on, let me just read a little bit more about Dave. And Dave Monteiro is a registered financial planner from the Philippines. He's based in Manila right now, and he holds an Australian diploma in financial planning. He specializes in stock market and mutual fund investments, as well as life and health insurances. He's a member of the $1 Million Roundtable since 2018, which represents the top 7% of all financial advisors in the world. And the purpose of we have Dave here is, again, like H also mentioned it, a lot of us are, potentially struggling financially or falling into the pit of what am I going to do? A lot of people, for example, here in Australia has been stood down, and in other places in the world. In Hong Kong also, I have a lot of friends and family members who have also just been on unpaid leave or been fired from their jobs. So Dave is here to just share some insights in the finance world and to offer some support. So go ahead, Dave.
All right. Hi, Paula.
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, yes.
Can you hear and see me clearly?
You're a bit choppy, but we'll see how you go.
All right. So let me just share my screen. All right. Okay. So there. Good day to everyone. My name is Dave. So basically, I'm just here to talk about, well, basically personal finance, because with all the things that's happening right now in the world, I guess one thing I realize is that we're basically in a situation where almost all of us are in a forced involuntary retirement. I mean, I see a lot of people from different parts of the world wherein they were they had to be relieved from work because there aren't any movement with regards to the business or the company that they're in. And with that realization, I came to the question: are we ready for this, or am I ready for this? And honestly, myself, somehow I'm not, because I'm in my early 30s, and I just I could be able to sustain myself for the next 1 to 2 years. However, if you are into the part of your life wherein you haven't started yet with regards to your retirement planning or even taking care of your finances, then there comes the part wherein most people worry. All right. So yeah, that question of are you ready for retirement? Because truth be told, we don't know how long this whole lockdown or quarantine in your country or in my country will how long will it take. I mean, for some it could take months, and hopefully it doesn't take years. But for most people, like for example here in the Philippines, some people are very much reliant already to the government for their food or supplies. So taking that into the personal level, how are you in terms of your personal finance right now? Okay. And now we go into the number 28,000. So I came up with this number because if you're gonna look at it in terms of average in the world, okay, 28,000 represents the average number of years a person lives here on Earth. Okay, so I can make it this very simple. Okay, so if you can see this graph or this circle, okay, so 28,000 represents around roughly 76 years, or let's put it simple at 80 days. So we can divide that into 4 parts: 0 to 20, 20 to 40, 40 to 60, and 60 to 80. Okay. So in this time, 0 to 20, most of us are just studying, fooling around, and by the time that we're 20, we start to get our first job, first car, first house, and probably get married and have kids. So that's between 20 to 40. And when you're 40 to 60, you're probably gonna have or looking to advance your career, start a business, or getting a second car and house. And by the time that you're 60 to 80, you probably plan to retire. Going back to the portion of 40 to 60, if you do have kids, they would be starting their own first part here, where you're going to be studying. All right. So look at it in a perspective of days, 8,000 days deducted by half of the time wherein there's no income, because 0 to 20 you're reliant on your family or your parents, and by the time that you're in your 60 to 80, there's no income coming in. So basically you have half of your life to basically work for the last quarter of your life. That means you probably have 4 common financial fears that most of it's common for all the people here on earth. So one, what if you cannot work at 60? Second, what if you don't reach 60 and you have family that is reliant or depending on you? Number 3, how much do you need for you to retire? And the fourth one is, can you ensure, or can I ensure, that my children will start a life their foundation? So with regards to those fears, we come to 4 financial goals. So what if I cannot work 60? Then you need to generate or find income yours if you cannot work. Second, what if you don't reach 60? Then you need to ensure that your dependents get taken care of if you're not around. Number 3, how much you need to retire. Then you need to start saving up so that you can enjoy the same lifestyle when you want to retire. And lastly, for your children, you need to start saving up enough money for your kids' education. Okay, so how can we address that? With regards to the first two fears and the first two goals. Okay, first off,
Sorry, Dave. You're a bit choppy.
Sorry.
Sorry, you're a bit choppy.
Okay.
Yeah, you're breaking up a bit. Can you start from after,
Hear what?
there.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Is it clear now?
Can you try again? Can you try speaking again?
Just hold on a sec.
Sure, no problem. Great. So while we wait for Dave, if you have any feedback, any more questions, please leave it in the chat. So after Dave's portion, we will have a panel discussion really quickly, just between the speakers and the coaches. And after that, we will be entertaining the questions that we've received in the group chat. So please don't be afraid to leave any notes and any questions. Yep, Dave should be back.
Hi, Ola.
Hello, yes, you're back.
I just had to reconnect myself. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes,
Clearly?
I can hear you, yes.
All right. So there. Can you see?
Oh, sorry, Dave, I think we lost you again.
Can you see my screen?
Um,
Or is
we
it
can
still choppy?
we can see it now, but it's still a bit choppy. So we can try let's try again, and see
Alright.
if we get any luck.
Okay. I'll have to reconnect. Sorry
Right.
about that.
So I think what we can do, just so we can keep time, is we'll move on to the panel. If any one of you was interested in that portion, what I can do is I can ask Dave to potentially just send in his deck with some notes on his talking points of what he wants, so that you guys can get a glimpse of what he was going to present on. And aside from that, if you have any questions for him, please put it in the chat group. And if you want to know more, we can simply make that connection between you and Dave. Right. So up next, for all of the speakers, what we're doing is we're doing a panel. And we are basically going to ask one question for all of the speakers to answer. And my request is for each speaker is to just keep it really short. If we can keep it down to 1 minute to 2 minutes per answer, that would be great. And we can follow the same same flow that we did from the speaker lineup. So we'll go in that flow, and I can tell you guys who's going next, basically. So sorry, Dave, I know you went offline to reconnect again. So what we're just gonna do, so we can keep time, is we're just gonna have you send the presentation to everyone, if that's okay, with some talking points. Yep. And then sure, they can connect with you directly. Right. Thank you so much. So, all right. So for all of the speakers that's here right now for the webinar, the question that I'm gonna ask is this. What's one thing that you have learned only by experiencing COVID-19 or this global crisis? What's the one thing that you've learned that you could only have learned by experiencing this global crisis? So we'll go with Evan first.
Thanks for the question, Cola. Okay, what have I learned? The key word that comes to my mind during COVID-19 is growth. It's an opportunity for us to kind of, as kind of H said before, kind of break down and kind of lose. I'll put it in a metaphor. I feel like it's the process of a metamorphosis of a caterpillar, right? So a caterpillar one day, it goes down to its liquid essence and breaks itself down. It loses everything that was ever in its past, its identity, everything. It loses pretty much consciousness. And it rebuilds itself from scratch into the butterfly, this beautiful butterfly that it is, right? It's this process of breaking down in order to create a better, bigger, brighter self. And I feel like this is an opportunity for us to do that, because, you know, we are in a position where we're forced to get to be by ourselves, and there is limited things that we can do right now. So what can we do? How can we create a better self now? How can we bridge the gap between our current self and our future desired self? I believe now is the time to do it. And, you know, by focusing on what is it that I can do to grow as a person, you know, what do I need to learn about myself? Who do I need to be? When you start answering these questions and start acting towards it and start being that person now, I believe that when this finishes, when there is light at the end of the tunnel, and when we get to the end of the tunnel and we present ourselves again to the world, we're going to be that next version. We're going to be that desired self, that being, that who we want to be. When we get there, we're going to hit the ground running. So I feel like there's opportunity for growth in this time.
Yep. Amazing. Thanks, Evan. Sharon, if you're ready.
Yes. Do you see me as well?
Yes, I can see as well.
Okay. Amazing. Wow, what a great question. That really got me thinking for a second. What came to me was amplification. And I feel this COVID-19 situation really amplifies a lot of things that may have been dormant within our lives, within ourselves, and they come to light right now. And the way the universe works and how desire works is that we need contrast in order to really have big desire.
Mm-hmm.
Without desire, we don't grow, we don't move ahead, we don't innovate. Like, that's the fuel that we need in order to grow as a human race and individually as well. So I feel that there is so many people are confined and so many people have been taken things away, basically, that the desire is huge. And I'm actually really, really excited about, you know, what will happen in the future from this huge desire and what innovations will come through and how people will step up.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess for me, what's something that I've learned only by experiencing this is there are things in our lives that we are very that we don't really notice because we have a routine and we have a day-to-day that we follow. And when you're forced into a situation that is outside of your comfort zone and outside of that reality, outside of that routine, you're forced to stop and to take a step back and to reassess or reevaluate in a different level, because the restrictions that are imposed and the limitations that are imposed to us as human beings, as a community, as countries, and as a global as a global community. Like, this is the first, nothing's ever happened like this before. It's the first time we're experiencing it. And what I've really learned from this is how we're really similar and we're all connected and we really are a community. Like, we're all experiencing the same things. And I think before that, I knew that, I understood it, and I saw it. I was present to that. But only during this time was it really real for me. Look at us here, like being in this online space from different parts of the world is already proof of that. And from this experience, I really got that. I really got that we are a community, all of us. Thank you. And Janice isn't here. She's had to leave to take care of the kids. As authentic as she was earlier, she said, I gotta go. I gotta take care of my children. So up next, we got Kevin.
I guess what I was forced into really dwelling in and learning is just to be comfortable with the uncomfortable, or like learning how to accept the new stuff or the new norm, and really excelling with something that I was really uncomfortable. I couldn't see my clients one-on-one, and therefore I had to be in a group setting and in front of a camera, which wasn't my thing. With all of this and just thinking about that, I had to slow things down, reassess, take a step back. And I'm quite happy to also just see everyone being so connected more than ever before. And everyone's checking up on everyone and everyone cares, and we're all against one common enemy. I guess that's everything that's what I've learned from all of this.
Thanks, Kevin. Yeah. Thank you. And next we have Jenna. Ooh, Jenna, are you there? Not sure if we've got Jenna online, but we'll go back to Jenna. H, if you could share what you've learned only through this.
I learned that I guess same thing that Evan was talking about. What's up, Evan? But yeah, same thing that he was saying. Is just it's meant to break us down, but it's a bigger challenge for me. I'm always on my desk, anyways. But it's really hard to communicate. Now I'm learning to communicate a little bit more better with staff and everything. Mentally, it's it should be driving me nuts, but I love it. Maybe I'm just that kind of psychopath, but I love what's happening because it's a new challenge. You know, it's you like I said, you get knocked out, you get back up. It's mentally, it makes you mentally stronger, physically stronger, emotionally stronger, and that's what this is all about. I mean, I as much as I hate the beliefs of what they're saying about why this is happening, it was planted, so and so. I actually think it's the forces of nature that humanity actually needed this. I really do. And not just humanity, I mean the world. If you see outside, you look outside, you look at the skies, you look at everything, there is beauty in what's happening. And it's the same thing that should be happening inside of you if you actually look at it in a different way. You know, it's this one thing of how it's touched me a little bit. You know, I look outside, it's a beautiful day, everything's so cleansed. And that's something that we could be doing for ourselves also, mentally, physically, and
Thank
you know,
you.
emotionally.
Thanks, H.
Yeah.
Sorry. So we also have Jenna back here. So Jenna, yep.
Hi, sorry I was cut off.
No worries. Go ahead.
For me, this learning experience is learning how to surrender and just really letting go the things that are out of your control. So just to give some background, this year for me was meant to be a big year. I was meant to be moving to Germany. I was meant to be getting married. Like my wedding's postponed. Everything is up in the air. So for me, it's just learning how to find beauty in the chaos and just learning how to reconnect and just really letting go the things that are out of our control. So
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you. And lastly, but not the least, Dave.
So there. Well, with regards to the thing I've learned, is really just planning ahead. We'll never know what things might happen, what tragedies, or not only those what they call the rainy days, but planning ahead, being conservative with regards to your finances, and yeah, not living in the moment wherein you just get to spend things financially. You also need to prepare. We've been taught in school or by some people that we need to prepare for the rainy days. And some people might say, what kind of rainy days? I mean, just, you only live once. But now we realize, yeah, this this pandemic has proven that this is what they call the rainy days. This is what they call that you need to prepare for that. And if you're not prepared financially, then you may start, worrying about a lot of stuff. Especially if you have, a family to feed, and you can't really work because the business that you're in, or the company that you're at is down financially as well. So
Thank you. Thank you all speakers and coaches for answering that question for us. Absolutely amazing. And I think we're all able to pull from what you've shared, what we've shared, and apply that also into what we're learning during this pandemic, during this crisis. So we're moving on now to our Q&A section. We have a list of questions that we've collected from the chat group. And so a couple of them is for different people. So I think the first question that we got was directed to Evan, and I think Evan also answered that in the chat group. But if Evan can also share a little bit more about it. The question is, do you find when you say "I hear" that people feel this is a cookie cutter response? As people know, this is what coaches are meant to say. Just interested how often you use this term and how you mix it up.
Yeah, it's a great question. There's two ways that I look at it. First way is from a coach, so a coach who is practicing the art of coaching. So as I said into the the chat box is there's different ways you can say other than I hear. You could say like, it sounds like you are feeling frustrated here. Or you could say, it feels like you are happy at the moment. Or something like, I feel like you are feeling like this. You can also say, I'm sensing there's some hesitation within you, or I sense there is something exciting brewing in the air for you. So there's just simple ways that you can use other than I hear, because I know that's kind of generic.
Mm-hmm.
But the main point I want to make is when people are unloading and they're telling you everything that they want to, not often are they hearing this I hear. They just want to be heard, and they're so focused on their story at the time, they're not really looking at things that you say repetitively. So it's more about just getting that point across that they're being heard in any way that possible. I mean, it's good to switch it up, absolutely, but you got to remember, from their perspective, they just want to get as much out as possible and feel like they're being acknowledged. So as a coach, I just want to make sure that I am getting the essence of what they're saying, and however I deliver it back to them, it's as long as I have the importance and the main essence of it, like that's all I need. So, but yeah, absolutely switch it up. Use I feel, I sense, I hear, whatever you need, and you can.
Thank you, Evan. Thank you. The next question that we have is for Sharon. It also came with feedback, that was an amazing talk. And if you could recommend any books that we can read to take what we've learned deeper and further.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for the question. Great question. So the one book that I would recommend that I found to be most accurate in terms of metaphysical concepts and really teaching is called Ask and It Is Given by Abraham Hicks.
Mm-hmm.
Everything by Abraham Hicks is actually very accurate. Another book that I really, really like is called The Science of Getting Rich. It's a smaller book, and I've just kept reading it over and over again. That's actually what I recommend with any book. Don't just read a book once and then put it aside, but actually study it. And that's by William Wallace, and it's been written around that time of Think and Grow Rich, early of the century, basically. But it basically outlines the same concepts, just in terms of getting rich and increasing wealth, which I really like. Think and Grow Rich is quite a longer book, and I like that this one's very, like I've always said, there is no excess information in there. It's so on point, it's so clear, really, really good to implement. And if anybody wants to take all of this knowledge further, I've actually created a mastermind. It's called the Mastermind Membership, for people who really want to dive into this and want to amplify their life now and thrive and learn how to create from the inside out. That's something that I could also be sharing, that anybody who resonates with it could dive into and really have a community and people who are on that same path to really, create their life through the universal laws.
Amazing. Thank you. So the next question I have is for Jenna, and quite an interesting session, because everyone was also on the chat saying it's, a lot of things were coming up for them just in terms of the food and the nutrition. And the question is basically, do you have any recommendations for healthy snacks during times when, so sorry, let me just read that question again, is when you get hungry during the night, or how to suppress the cravings. So sorry, too many questions there, but the first one, yeah, go ahead.
Cool, thank you for the questions. First of all, usually if you're having cravings in the evening, it could be because you're not eating enough protein during your dinner. So if you add a little bit more protein into your diet during dinner, you can stay satiated much longer and you feel full, which leads to less cravings throughout the evening. However, or if you always like to have snacks on the side, you can always have, nuts, any types of nuts, cashews, walnuts. You could also have apple slices with peanut butter on the side, peanut butter dip. Mm-hmm. And usually actually just fruits as well. So blueberries, nothing too sweet, but whatever that you're comfortable with. And another tip is usually when you have that craving, because it's such an urgency that you want it now, if you basically kind of become aware to it and then just pause. So you become aware to it and then just give it maybe a few minutes and it's most likely to go away. So those are a few tips.
Cool. Great. Thank you. Thanks, Jenna.
Thank
The next
you.
question that I have is actually for both Evan and Sharon, and it's how do we cultivate more compassion in ourselves and in others? Yep, feel free. Any one of you can start. Sharon, maybe? Yeah, ladies first.
Ladies first. More compassion. That's an interesting question, especially because I lacked a lot of compassion for myself for the longest time. And I think that's really where it starts, to be compassionate with ourselves, because whatever we can give to ourselves, it is easier to give to others. And just a glimpse into that is that I've struggled with an eating disorder for the longest time. And I just basically hated myself so much. And yeah, I think the path forward now is really to, first of all, acknowledge that we have needs, that we are worthy, that we are valued, that it's, you know, fine to have boundaries, to have standards that help us to be at our best, and to have this compassion as well for ourselves, that we do have needs in some way, shape, or form, and to acknowledge that and to give ourselves what we need, because only then we can actually show up for others. And I think it's a very interesting dance to be self-compassionate and not to lose ourselves in the service to others, because I think probably many watching are highly sensitive and empaths, and we feel other people's feelings. So one thing that's always good is to ask, is this actually mine or is it someone else's? And to just take responsibility for yourself and also for your boundaries as well. But also, of course, be compassionate with other people, but also recognize that we all create our own life, that we're all self-responsible, and that it's more an interdependent dance with someone else than a dependency that we need to foster in some way. It's more about acknowledging each other's needs, I feel. I don't know if I'm going off topic right now, but that's just what's coming through right now. But for me, that's the ultimate compassion, that we can be compassionate with ourselves, but also with others at the same time, while we recognize that we're interdependent and not dependent.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. Thanks,
Thank
Sharon.
you.
And Evan, go ahead.
Sure. So beautifully said, Sharon. I loved how you articulated that. And I'll just follow on from that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Two powerful questions that I'd ask myself, or usually when I'm working with clients, is what is it that I need most right now? And then you follow that up with, how can I honor that within myself? You know, I'm such a big believer in whatever we look for outside of us, we must give ourselves first, right?
Mm-hmm.
And by understanding what we need for ourselves first, you are showing compassion to yourself, because you are putting yourself first, because you know that, as Sharon said, in order to serve others, you got to serve yourself first. You need to fill your cup up first before you can help others. And another thing that we don't do is listen to this voice within us, right? We listen to our heart. What does our gut say? Because usually we're thinking around in loops all the time. And, you know, this is the critical, logical thinking that always happens. And very rarely is that quietened. You know, is there silence or there's stillness, and able to listen to what's deeper, what's coming from the soul, what's coming from the heart. And, you know, we want to find ways of breaking that cycle of thoughts that we have, to able to listen to the deep voice, which is our true self, and listen to what our inner self needs. So it's about creating that space of stillness for ourselves, and kind of listening to, what does our body need right now? What do I need right now? And then how can I honor that?
Mm-hmm.
So that's, I think, the best way of creating self-compassion is to ask what I need first, listen to our body, listen to our hearts, and then start honoring that in any way, capacity that you can or you feel is right for you.
Thank you. That's so beautiful. Thank you both for answering that question. So next we have it's a comment from someone, but I'd like to direct this as a question to Kevin actually. And we had someone comment that they live in a small apartment and body movement is very important, even if it's just around the neck area and some body stretches. And I guess I want to turn that into a question is, what can we do in a small space? Like, how can we still nurture our body and keep moving where it matters in such a small space, like in apartments in Hong Kong?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. That's something I had to learn coming from huge spaces, living in Manila and stuff like that. So I had to adjust to small spaces here. One thing I like to do is just to basically do a whole scan, like what I mentioned a while ago, checking in, mindfully moving, spending time, just basically going outside of your usual format, as I would say. Standing up, sitting up and down, just walking around the space. If you do have enough space for yoga mat, that's something that you can dive into. I'd like to also share some videos with you guys. So I could probably send something towards you and you could just probably forward that, or you guys could message me for anything. How to program things if you're going to do a HIIT workout on Monday. The next day could be something slow like yoga, or you could have like morning walks every day. So it's about just balancing the doses of the stress that you will be experiencing, or what you're going to be diving into. Sometimes also just even being still, listening to your breaths, focusing on your breaths. You don't always have to do something, or you don't always have to be productive. Sometimes being bored is okay. And again, looking in, looking out, and just scanning basically. So there's a lot of things that you can do, even just raising up your hands. You can go as simple as that to doing jumping jacks, or just moving your spine.
Awesome. Thanks. Yeah. Thanks, Kevin. And I guess the last question that we have from our attendees is for Dave, and it's threefold, Dave. It's, how do you prepare financially for something like COVID-19? And how much do you need to save? And how much do you need to set aside for retirement? And I guess these answers might be a bit specific, and I know that you wanted to dive deep into it into your presentation as well. It might have answered these questions, but if you can just summarize it, wrap it up nicely.
Yeah, sure.
Let's go ahead.
So, well, prepare financially for something like COVID. Well, we can't really know when such occurrence might happen again, but it's just really about having a budget allocation, a systematic allocation for yourself every single time that money comes in. There's a systematic allocation, a system that you can basically allocate for with regards to your savings, with regards to your expenditures, with regards to your investments and all those stuff. So how much do you need to save? Well, for myself, I always do 10% of my income, may it be a weekly income or a monthly income. 10% goes to my savings. And for retirement, I always allocate 20%. May it be monthly, annually, or weekly. I always do 10% savings, 20% retirement. So where did I get that? Well, based on research and studies of different financial institutions, the average amount of money a person earns roughly goes into that amount later on once you need that. So there.
Great. Thank you so much. And again, Thank you to all our speakers and our coaches that have joined us today, and to everyone who's attended and has stayed up to this time to be with us and to listen to us share and add. Hopefully, we've added some value to you today that you can take with you moving forward to really help cope with this crisis. If you need any support, my team and I will be sending an email to everyone who's attended to share with you how you can connect with the speakers and the coaches. And if they're willing to share their presentations, we'll also share that with you. And I know that Kevin also wanted to send some videos that you can do at home. And of course, Dave's notes from his presentation he'll share with you as well. So we'll put that all nicely. We'll wrap it up in an email, and we'll also ask for feedback, so how we can better this webinar moving forward, the format, what you liked, what you taken away from this, and anything else that you would like to share back with us. So thank you again so much. This is the end of the webinar. We will give you another platform and space to leave your feedback. And yeah, thank you. I hope you guys enjoyed it. To the speakers, thank you again. Thank you for doing this in your own free time. And especially happy Easter. It's Easter weekend. I hope you're all staying safe, and I hope you're healthy. And I wish you all a good long weekend. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye
everyone.
all.
That was awesome.
Bye-bye.